Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
This is the Janine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Janine Pirro.
Welcome back to the Judge Janine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. Joining us now is the former National Press Secretary for the 2020 Trump campaign and an advisor to the president at all times. He's a consultant to the speaker, and he is my friend. His name is Hogan Gidley. Hogan, I got to tell you, I don't know about you, but why we haven't stopped reporting the news since the president put his left hand on the Bible. I mean, it's been nonstop, one thing after another. Are you exhausted yet?
But Judge, it started before. I mean, think about it. He wasn't even sworn in, and you had the president of Mexico saying, "Yeah, we probably should work together on the border." Justin Trudeau resigns. Like, my goodness. It was Hamas coming to the table. All of these things were occurring, and he wasn't even sworn in yet. And then when he got there, as you well know, my goodness, he was ready to go on day one. He said so, and all presidents say it, but they don't really have everything lined up. This guy has everything in place, on point, making news. And, you know, I've seen some reporters here in D.C. around town complaining to me now that, my goodness, he did 3 or 4 press engagements today. I'm exhausted. He's been doing all this work for 2 weeks. I'm exhausted. And I was like, guys, you had a nap, much like the former president, for 4 years. You weren't doing anything. There was nothing to cover. They gave you no access, no news, except bad news for the American people. Now we're winning again. It's a breakneck pace. This is Donald Trump at his absolute best. He is calm. He is confident.
Yeah, he is calm.
Free. He knows he has a finite window with which to accomplish things that he promised he would accomplish. He's doing that. Now we're on to the congressional side where he's got to get budget bills and border bills. He's working on that now. This man is not stopping at all. It is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. And I got to tell you, I actually spoke with him in the latter part of this week. And it was early in the morning, you know, and he was just full of piss and vinegar. And you're right. He knows he has a finite amount of time within which to accomplish his goals. He knows what the goals are. He knows how to attain those goals. And, the transparency is just, it's mind-boggling. I mean, we had a guy who stumbled out, didn't know people's names. And I got to tell you, I'd like to forget about Joe Biden, but at the same time, the comparison is stunning. I mean, you've got a president who's out there. I mean, yet we had that crash, that horrible crash in D.C., and we have the Secretary of Transportation, the DefSec, and the president doing repeated pressers so that the American people know what's going on. And it is just, it's mind-boggling that the American people actually stood for the lies of a guy who supposedly ran circles around everyone behind closed doors, but couldn't get 2 sentences together when he stood in front of the press. It is, you have to make that comparison, Hogan. You just do.
Well, it's a jarring juxtaposition of where we were versus where we are now. And I remember when Joe Biden's staff would say things like you just mentioned, that he really does run circles around us. Publicly, he can't put sentences together, and he's led around by the hand by his wife or Obama or whoever's on stage with him. But behind the scenes, he's running triathlons. You just don't know it. And I always would think to myself, how lazy as a staffer do you have to be to publicly say that Joe Biden is running circles around you? How much sleep do you need to say Joe Biden is the one who's outpacing you as a 25-year-old staffer? Donald Trump clearly is moving quickly here. There's no question about it, but it's so purposed. You talked about this horrific, sad tragedy in the Potomac where the helicopter collided in midair with the plane. you had every lever of government involved in this out talking to the American people. And it wasn't like Pete Buttigieg, late to the game, having left on maternity leave or whatever he was doing, coming back with his cosplay outfit with this oversized vest and his, hard hat. You had Sean Duffy at the mics explaining what was going on in real time. You had SecDef, Pete Hegseth doing the same thing, Trump going out there. And you notice he didn't look at the press and then, like Joe Biden, say, well, my team would be mad if I took any more questions. Or, here's the list, the approved list. Let me check off who's first. My staff says it's this person. He just goes up there and answers the questions. And two words are going to be important here, Judge, in this administration. It's going to be, yes, the transparency that you talked about. Access like we've never seen. Transparency about what's going on in government with the drones. Big news, which, by the way, if it was just approved by the Biden administration, the FAA, why they didn't say something is beyond me, but whatever. The transparency is important, Judge. It's the second part of that, the accountability.
Well, let's talk about
coming with this administration.
But let's talk about the crash, and there was a lot of talk about the fact that it wasn't staffed properly. That unfortunately, and you don't even want to have to face it, but the staffing at Reagan National and in the control tower was not normal on the night of the commission, and this is the collision. This is according to the FAA, and apparently now we're hearing there's a report that the air traffic controller left early. And, then we find out there are all these positions that are not filled. And you have to wonder, Americans want jobs. They want good jobs. Don't tell me you couldn't fill those positions. Don't tell me that you have to do it based not on merit, but on, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That you want someone who's, I'm intersectional, I'm deaf, but, I'd be good as a air control employee. It's mind boggling that we can't fill these positions. And forget the DEI. Okay. Nobody wants that anymore. I don't want someone flying the plane or directing traffic who isn't competent. But don't tell me you can't fill those positions.
Yeah, or operating on me as a doctor who isn't competent. I want someone who knows the
who doesn't know the difference between right and left.
Exactly. Listen, this is what I was getting to here. Void of any information, that's when conspiracies and questions abound.
Right.
That's what this administration is giving us, is information, so we can make our own assessments. But in addition to the transparency, the accountability that comes with it, why weren't there people there? Now we know there weren't enough people at Reagan, but why weren't they there? And if someone's responsible, I can guarantee you this administration, if applicable, will bring charges, or at the very least fire people for not doing their jobs properly. That's what's so different about this administration versus the last, because the Joe Biden administration just let people let the inmates run the asylum. They didn't do much. And then when they did do something and get caught doing it, it didn't matter. They fell upwards, they get a promotion, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
This is costing people's lives here. And when you see this happening and you realize the gravity of the importance of these positions, where you need somebody who's competent, you need somebody who's experienced, who is pressure tested, because we all know air traffic controlling is a very high burnout rate, very competent. You need to know that it's very pressure filled. This type of thing happening, the more information we have, the better it is as the American people.
Well, there's
but it's
no
also
question.
better so they can fix it when they find out what happened.
But you know what? The night before the D.C. crash, another airliner nearly collided with a helicopter the night before. Okay. Yeah. And, the onus is on the FAA for American Airlines and the crash, but bad management apparently there is putting us at risk. And it was absolutely preventable. This doesn't have to happen. People need to want to do the job.
Yeah, but that's what you're making a perfect point here. These are preventable. So whether it's a murder, a rape, a homicide, a burglary, an assault by an illegal alien who shouldn't be here in the first place, that's a crime that's preventable. Whether you have the enough people there or there are incompetent people there at the FAA, if they're not doing their job, accidents happen, tragedies happen that are 100% preventable as well. Same thing that applies here. So, I hate flying. Ever since 9/11, I've been a very nervous flyer.
Really?
Yes, and when they opened that runway at DCA that now goes from the southeast to the northwest, it cuts perpendicularly across the main runway. It was confusing to me because always when you're taking off going on the north and south runway, the big runway, you see these helicopters running maneuvers. You know they do it on the east side of the river. So when they open up that new runway where you had to come over the east side of the river as opposed to parallel to the traffic, I was really wondering, why would they do that? And now you're hearing all these people coming out saying, wait a minute, we pushed against this because the traffic in this town, every pilot will tell you they hate landing in DCA at Reagan National because they have to go through the buildings. It's a short runway. It's over water. They have to get down quick. There's so much traffic from helicopters and boats, birds, all these things going on. And yet they open up a brand new runway to allow more traffic in an already congested airport. You really have to wonder why that is. And I'm not saying it was nefarious. It could be just to make more money, or it could be to we don't know why. Up and down the Potomac.
We don't know why.
It's not smart, obviously. And when things like this happen that are preventable, someone's got to be held accountable for it.
Well, someone's got to be held accountable. And I want to, I just want to express my condolences to the families of those, who perished in this horrible crash. I mean, these were young people. These were people who had a whole future in front of them. It is a horrific situation. My heart goes out to everyone affected by this. But I want to move on to the issue of, the border. And, of course, we expect the left to go ballistic every time they send these criminals back to their home countries. And I must tell you, it is a very positive thing where even the, minority community is yelling, get them the hell out of here. And thank God. But right now, there's an interesting issue. I don't know if you're aware of it, Hogan Gidley, but the acting U.S. Deputy Attorney General, who's Emil Bove, who represented the president during the criminal trial in Manhattan, apparently he has called for an investigation of an upstate New York sheriff who released an undocumented immigrant from custody. And apparently this was an individual that they had asked for, that ICE had asked for. And this sheriff from Tompkins County was asked to honor a federal arrest warrant, and it was for a Mexican citizen who was released from jail in Ithaca, New York, after having pled guilty to assault. And then they let him go. They let him go as opposed to giving him to ICE. Now, Emil Bove is saying, we're going to look into prosecuting these sheriffs. What do you think?
Here's John Katzimatidis Jr.
Are you paying too much for your home or business heating oil? My family owns and operates United Metro Energy, and we can offer you a lower price and better service right now. No other heating oil company can match our tremendous buying power. We own our own refinery, our own storage tanks, and the largest fleet of company-owned trucks.
We get a 20-cent a gallon tax credit with United Metro Energy's biofuel.
We're a community-conscious, family-run business.
We're here for you 24/7.
Contact me anytime.
Email john@umecny.com. It's Ocean Drive in Coney Island.
Ocean Drive is the only luxury rentals in New York with a spectacular ocean view. You wake up in the morning and breathe that ocean air. I'll certify that you're going to live 10 years longer. When I became successful, I wanted to live on the ocean. If you have worked hard, you deserve an apartment on Ocean Drive too. Go to oceandrivenyc.com and reward yourself.
If you're a policeman, fireman, doctor, nurse, or teacher, you qualify for a limited time offer at oceandrivenyc.com. Terms and conditions apply.
What you're hearing is Hardie Fiber Cement Siding living up to its reputation as the siding that helps resist weather damage, no matter what Mother Nature throws its way. James Hardie knows how important a reputation is, especially when you're a home builder. That's why Hardie products withstand the elements better than wood-based siding, with styles to match their strength. Because when home builders work with us, we deliver our best so they can look their best. Protect your reputation with exterior products by James Hardie.
Listen, I'm not familiar with the case specifically, but
it's a new one.
I have seen that play out a million times in the last several years, okay? One of the most despicable things about what we're seeing right now from the Biden administration, as you look back, the quickness with which Donald Trump, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem are arresting people and sending them back, these violent criminals. They didn't just discover where they were in the first 3 days of taking office, meaning the Biden administration knew where these people were and still didn't deport them, still left them in our communities. And to your point, let sheriffs and locals who refuse to coordinate or cooperate kind of run interference for the administration. Now they're openly pushing back against Donald Trump and his policies, openly pushing back against ICE, CBP, et cetera, trying to prevent them from doing their job of finding these criminals, arresting them, and deporting them. I'm telling you, you're going to see some serious clashes in the next several days, months, years, as Donald Trump continues to execute on his campaign promise that people voted for.
But what's interesting about this is it seems that some of the bigger players, like I believe it was the governor in Massachusetts, who has said she will use everything in her arsenal to prevent the deportation. Now she's backed off, and some of the bigger players are backing off. The only one who doesn't seem to be as Pritzker and Newsom as President Trump calls them. But that's political. And Brendan Johnson, the mayor in Chicago, you want to tell me why they're more concerned about illegals who've committed crimes than they are about American citizens? I mean, this Brendan Johnson, the mayor in Chicago, is he just stupid? I mean, who votes for him? The illegals? His own minority community doesn't want them, Hogan Gidley. His own community is upset with him.
Well, look, it was in vogue for a while to feign concern over the situation and to, and to virtue signal, right? Now people don't like that. They want people removed from their communities. But it's hard for Democrats to change that playbook because they've been using it now for so long. But in addition, it still goes back to what we talked about, 6 months ago, Judge, when I did your show, and we all know it. This is a place to gain and maintain political power. What they want are voters. And if they think they can keep them in this country and then somehow give them amnesty, that those folks will vote for them in perpetuity. And if a few Americans have to die in the process, if a few Americans have to get raped in the process, hey, that's just the price of doing business internationally. It's a very shrewd and a very cynical and disgusting mentality that Democrats have had for quite some time. It's being exposed. It's being changed. And the American people, thankfully, because of some of those governors, by the way, which is what we wanted to do in the first Trump administration, that governors finally did, was sending these illegal aliens into communities that said they wanted them. And they did for about 10 minutes. And they realized what a strain and drain it was on all of their resources. That exposed the issue. And let me just tell you this one stat. When we were looking at voter integrity laws across the country, I wanted to poll having non-American citizens vote in American elections. And I thought, this is going to be a 95% issue. It was only 60% 3 years ago, 60. And when I asked the pollster, how could that be? He said, because 40% want open borders. In 2 years, Judge, that number went from 60% to 87 to 93% did not want non-citizens voting in our elections. And it's because in those 3 years, those same people had to live with the bad policies when illegal aliens came into their communities. They realized how bad it was, and the sentiment changed. That shows you how much policy impacts politics.
Well, the sentiment changed because people realize that the policy translates into a worse experience for them, a dangerous and economically negative experience for them. But they're apparently in one of the Dem-run cities as ICE, was making these arrests. After taking over 3 apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado, this Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang, is now spread to a 4th property in Denver, and proving that the only solution is deportation. But what they're doing is there was so much mayhem caused by it that they literally went in armored vehicles with SWAT teams to raid the property with the warrants and the drug warrants that they had. And, shocked residents were yelling, thank God they're finally getting them out. I mean, how could Joe Biden, what did he gain by this, Hogan Gidley? And that's my last question. What did he gain?
Well, that was mainstream popularity for Democrat members. They wanted this type of we're holier than thou by being the country that has no borders and welcoming in everybody.
What the hell is that holy? Even the Vatican has borders.
Right, but then they lecture us that we should let more people into our borders, right?
Nonsense.
So this is what I'm saying. As you know, it was very popular in Hollywood. Remember, because Democrats control all the levers of power and influence in this country, Hollywood, big tech, colleges and universities, the media. Yeah. It was that type of mentality that was really pervasive in this country.
Hogan Gidley, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate your time. Get out there and maybe you can get some sleep because you're going to have a tough 4 years. We all will. Take care.
It's going to be great. Thanks.
It is. All right. Take care.
It's the Judge Janine Show.